Aloha, I'm Cindy Palos, and this is Talk Story, and I am so excited to have Dr. Wayne DYER as my guest on the show today. Dr. DYER has been a inspiration for millions of people. Of course, over 30 books and all kinds of inspirational products out there. Thousands and thousands of people's lives have been changed by Dr. DYER, but beyond all that, Dr. DYER, who are you?
Who I am has nothing to do with my resume.
I know.
It has nothing to do with this physical body that I'm in or this mind that I'm using all the time. It has nothing to do with anything in the physical world. Who I am is an infinite piece of God. That's who I am.
Yes, you are, and
So are you.
Well, I am also a manifestation of God's love and light, yet I have yet to express it as powerfully and successfully as you have.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think you've done a pretty good job of that, I tell you. So.
Oh, that's a huge compliment coming from you, but really, so many people adore you and have learned so much from you. You truly have been able to express beautifully, so beautifully, the true love and light that God is to so many people who then all of a sudden were turned on for the first time to the power within themselves and have done this from the beginning to now. And what I find so absolutely amazing about your journey is that you have grown with each step of the way and allowed people to see all those experiences that have brought you to where you are. And people, I do want to put out right now, there's going to be an amazing opportunity for people to experience divine love with Dr. Wayne DYER. So many people would love to have love with you, Dr. DYER, so they can experience that divine love. The ultimate experience of reclaiming your divinity with Dr. Wayne DYER happening at a special workshop January 26th through the 27th, happening right here on Maui at the Westin Maui Resort and Spa. And people are coming from all over the world, and we are so lucky to be able to just go across the island and go right down there and participate in this special weekend. And the reason we're putting this on about a month before the event on the show is because tickets really are going fast, and we want to let people know that if they want to participate, they really should plan on getting on board right away and get tickets through your website, which is really the best way, I guess, is to go through your Hay House site for people to get tickets.
Yes, I think hayhouse.com or drwaynedyer.com. I mean, they can figure that out pretty easily anymore.
You know, what I've seen is your generosity in so many ways, and I've learned a lot by the fact that not only can you talk, and I have to say I do believe partly your huge success is that you talk so well, but you walk the talk as well as doing that divine talk that you do, and I think that through this we're all able to learn from you because you are human, but spirit in human form. And I'm reading your book right now, the latest book, thank you to Lindsay. She sent me Wishes Fulfilled, and so I've been reading it and just blown away by the stories that you have in the Wishes Fulfilled books.
Well, it's a fascinating journey for me. It really is, and this idea of being able to manifest and attract things into our life. There's been a lot of talk about that with something a few years back called The Secret, which I was asked to be a part of, but I declined because the emphasis was so much on getting what you want, in a physical sense, and it was I've really. I think at this time in my life come to the awareness that you do not manifest what you want in your life. You manifest who you are and what you are. And if you're coming from a place of divine love and kindness and are recognizing your own original nature, then there is no wanting. There is, you're able to just attract anything that you place your attention on, and it just begins to show up for you. And it's a totally different approach to all of this. And the idea behind Wishes Fulfilled is that all we have to do is change the way we look at the world, and the world that we look at really does change. It's all a function of the way that we decide to process our world. That's what I do. That's what I think about. That's what I practice all the time, and try to teach people to do.
You know what I've been thinking about reading this book is that as you become more of that I am presence, and as you, as an example, have drawn in all this unbelievable infinite light and love, how much of this can you take till your body catches up with the transformation? Because it seems to me, of course, we've got this form, but as much form and stuff as we have to integrate our form and everything we have with all of this light and love. So it seems like there's an integration process.
There is, and it's but the integration process is it's really a function of how we use our mind. Basically, Cindy, we evaluate who we are on the basis of what Muktananda called the false self. If you ask somebody, "Who are you?" and they try to define that, they start going into labels, and what's on their resume and what they've accomplished and these are all the most important thing that he ever said to me was that when he was asked the question, "What is real, Master? What is real?" His response was, "That is real which never changes." So what is the changeless part of us? What is the part of us that is infinite? It's certainly not the body. I mean, I've been in so many different bodies just in this incarnation alone. I mean, I'm 72 years of age. I was in a 2-year-old body and a 20-year-old body. And I've got pictures of it. I'm looking at one right now on the wall. There's a picture of me when I was in my 20s. I can't find one cell left of that body anyplace, on this planet. It's 50 years ago. So that, but when I was in that 20-year-old body, I really believed that that's who I was. Just like right now, I'm in this 72-year-old body, and I look in the mirror and I say, "This is who I am." If you say that. But then, a week later, you look and you're something different. So the I that just keeps occupying all of these bodies is the changeless part of us. It's the same I that was in the 20-year-old body, the 10-year-old body, and now this body of mine at this age that I am now. And the same thing is true of we have a tendency to believe that who we are is what we accumulate. So we just try to accumulate as much stuff as we possibly can. And believe that the more of this that I have, the more successful I am, the happier I am, the more enlightened I am. But then we begin to realize that that all of the stuff that you have is constantly changing, and so you come up with this idea that who I am is what I do. What are you? Well, I'm a radio host, or I'm a dentist, or I'm a beautician. But before you were a radio show host, or before you were a dentist or went to dental school, there was still the you. And when you stop doing the dentistry or you stop whatever it is that you're doing, there's still this you that is. When you talk about the integration process is really trying to bring these two worlds together. When in fact the physical world that we're talking about here, which is the world of the ego, which says that who I am is what I have and what I do and what other people think of me, and who I am is separate from everyone else. All of that, the truth of that is you begin to realize is that's an illusion. So you're really trying to integrate an illusion into your reality. And what I've tried to do in Wishes Fulfilled is to teach, give people a real blueprint for understanding that you don't evaluate who you are on the basis of anything that's in this physical world. It's not on the basis of even what your eyes and ears tell you. The great poet William Blake, said to see the world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower, to hold eternity in the palm of our hand and infinity in an hour, we are all led to believe a lie. When we see with, not through the eye, we really believe that what we see with our eye is our reality, but it's a lie. We have to use the eye almost to see through and recognize my own spiritual divinity, my own infinite nature. And when you recognize your infinite nature, everything else in the physical world no longer becomes how you identify yourself. So I no longer identify myself on the basis of what I accomplish, what I own, who is influenced by my work and so on. I really do it on the basis of how capable am I of loving everything and everyone that I encounter. And that kind of divine love, which is a love that, there's really basically three kinds of love. There's human love, which is a love that changes and varies, so that all the love relationships that you're in, one day you love them, one day you don't.
Unless they're your kids.
Or they disappoint you, so you stop loving them, and so on. And it's a love that changes and it varies. Sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's weak, and so on. Then there's another kind of love, which is a spiritual love, which is a love that never changes, but it does vary. Sometimes you feel it more intensely than other times. Sometimes you feel so close to God, and other times you just wonder, or you forget about it. But it's a changeless kind of love. But divine love, the kind of love that I want to speak about at the seminar we're going to do, it's the first time I've ever done one of these, is a love that, it's a love that Rumi writes about in so much of his poetry. It's a love that never changes, and a love that never varies. And when you're able to get to that place, Patanjali, the great father of meditation from way back 2,300 years ago, he put divine love this way. He said, when you are steadfast in your abstention of thoughts of harm directed towards yourself and others, that means when you are steadfast in having nothing but pure love in your consciousness for everything and everyone that you encounter, he said that all living creatures will cease to feel fear in your presence. That's the kind of love that I'm speaking about that we can have. It's like you fall in love with the cashier, and you fall in love with the person who's delivering your groceries for you, and you fall in love with the tree, and with the when I just came out of the ocean just before I did this interview, and I've been swimming. I went out there and just did a 1-hour swim. And it was such a wonderful, glorious time to swim in the morning when the waves haven't come in yet and the wind. And I looked down and I saw a great big sea turtle when I was out there, and I saw these funny little creatures that are living down there at the bottom. The little slinky little things. They look like snakes, and all these endless fish and so on. And you know what you do? You fall in love with all of that too, because you realize that whatever it is that is infinite, that is making them move the way that they move, is also beating your heart as well. And you just feel so connected to everything and everyone that you encounter that, and when you have that kind of love, you have it not only for everything outside of you, but you have it for yourself as well.
Well, I believe it's been called, where we're going to label it, agape, or also Christ. The Christ consciousness embraces that love. Of course, one of the great things that Christ was able to do is stay in that place you're talking about.
Steadfast. That's the key.
Yeah, but that's always every day. And I've been on this journey since I've been 13, 14 years old, and it's still every day is a lesson.
It's a challenge, isn't it? I mean, I've got one. I've got 8 children, and one of my daughters is just a big pain in the ass. Okay,
and you got to love them anyway.
And I love her and all that, but I mean, she's back doing dumb things again, and I'm finding myself not being able to have just complete divine love in every moment for some of the choices that she is making that are impacting other people around her, myself, the family, herself, and unhealthy kind of decisions and all of that, and trying to love her the way God loves us. That's really the great challenge. Is to love someone. And I had someone I just did a seminar in Seattle just last week with Bruce Lipton, and this woman stood up and she said, I just don't feel worthy. I just don't feel worthy of the love that you're talking about. And I said, well, you do realize that you came from God, that we all come from a source, and so we'll call it God. It doesn't matter what you call it. And this source is a source of divine love. It's just a perfect love, and we came from that. So how do you think God looks at you as one of his creations, and what do you think that he thinks of you? What is it that if you could just go to your creative source and say, what do you think of me? And what God's only response could be, well, I'm perfect love, and so you are also perfect love. So if God can love you, that way, what is this notion that there's something about you or some part of you that isn't worthy of that? When that's your origination, that's your original nature. Your original nature, and it's in the Course in Miracles. They say, they talk about it's about remembering. A mind at war with itself, it says, remembers not, eternal gentleness. You've got to get out of that war with yourself and with the ego and the inner dialogue and all of that, and just come to this place of, you said it well, agape, of perfect love. That's how you are loved. And why would you deny that when your source of being looks at you and just thinks, wow, you're just a piece of me. You're just divine creation.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, because truly that's been an issue I've been working with my whole life. And I think it's a lot of people's issue that when you experience this love the first time, you tend to think it's a love that isn't you think it's outside of yourself. But a lot of times I really think that at the heart of the matter is people don't really feel that they are worthy enough, and reject, without knowing it sometimes, reject that love that they are. And so, of course, this is from the beginning, even your erroneous zones and many of the important books you have written has been really helping people to wrap their head around and understand themselves and get to the point where they can be accepting of themselves. And that is why I think some of the books you've written, a lot of the books you've written, have really been embraced, because they help people with enough of their lives and their life issues to get to the point where they can accept that love.
Well, I've come to a place, Cindy, where I honestly don't even believe I write the books anymore. And more that has become the case. I'm finishing up a book right now called I Can See Clearly Now. And it won't be out for another year or so.
And you can have Jimmy Cliff sing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's a great song. In fact, my daughter sings it at some of my seminars for them. But what I've realized as I look back, what I've done is I've looked back at all of the influential things and people that have come into my life who have really impacted and really made huge shifts in my life. Like St. Francis is one of these people. Lao Tzu is another one of these people. Rumi was a huge and those are like well-known people, but there have also been many events. I mean, a teacher that I had when I was living in an orphanage who really impacted me, because every day she would read to us at the end of the day. If the class was good, she would read to us a story, and I loved this story so much. And I would just sit there just enthralled and fascinated by the last 20 minutes of the day. Mrs. Engel would read from this book. And I became the enforcer of the class to make everybody be quiet and not give her a rough time, because if we did, if everybody was talking, she wouldn't read to us.
What was the book?
The book was called The Secret Garden.
Oh, yes.
Now, I don't know if you've read The Secret Garden, but it was...
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it was the story of this little girl in England who was about 10 years old. Her name was Mary, and she found this place, this doorway into this secret garden where everything was just beautiful, and it was sort of like what was the little girl's name I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but the little girl who was there was a movie made about her, and every she was always so up and happy and joyful and so on, and
Pollyanna?
Pollyanna, yeah.
Yeah, I've been Pollyanna before, yes.
Yeah, I've been called Pollyanna myself, and I say, well, here was a little girl everybody in the town was miserable, and when she came, and after she was there for a few weeks, everybody was happy and joyful. I don't mind being called Pollyanna. I think that's a compliment.
Well, as you were saying this, because I read about in the book, Which is Fulfilled, you talk about your St. Francis influences and Lao Tzu and, and many of the people who really have influenced you, but I have to realize, as you were just saying this, you have reached millions of people, and in their day, St. Francis, if he was lucky, maybe reached 1,000 people, because, of course, now we have the ability to reach out.
Yeah, that's a very important thing that you're saying, because I really feel St. Francis is still working through me, and so is Lao Tzu.
And I've been to his place, as you mentioned you were, and there is a holy energy. If anyone should get to Assisi, they really should spend some time there.
I just did a second visit to go there. It's actually a third visit there, and it's like, and I really feel I took a whole group of people on something called Experiencing the Miraculous, and we recorded all of it and so on. And I really feel that it was sort of the message of St. Francis. It was just last year in June. We went to Assisi and then Lourdes and then Medjugorje, these three divinely spiritual places on the planet where these miracles have taken place. And I really feel it was St. Francis at work, saying, he was just trying to reach everyone And he would travel, and he'd have to travel by foot, to go to Rome. I mean, to go to Rome by foot from Assisi, I mean, that would take months to get there, and so on. And now, we can be in Rome I can be in Rome in 1 second from now by just pushing something on my computer, and there we are.
But you have to think, and I was thinking this morning, I mean, like, we do have a timestamp on this physical form. So, say you have another 30 years, and at some point you're gone. And I wonder how in another, 100, 200, 300 years, with all the product you have out, I wonder how people will remember you, Wayne. I was really kind of thinking about this. Is here, because you have achieved already in this lifetime, people have said you're kind of, I think there was a poll that you were the most spiritual person.
I was in the top 3 of those. They listed the 100 most spiritually influential people alive today, and it was myself and Eckhart Tolle and the Dalai Lama.
So you got to wonder, this legacy that you were able to leave in this time and space with these books and everything you have out there. I mean, I wonder how yourself will be, because there's an interesting transition I'm making here. Anita, a wonderful lady you found, I'm going to be interviewing her as well.
Oh,
and
good for you.
I just found her book, and she has this amazing story, and you have gotten to the point where you're able to turn so many people in the world onto people you have found who never, ever would have been discovered otherwise.
I know. That's such a blessing and such a gift. Immaculée Ilibagiza was another person like that, the woman who was in Rwanda and hiding in a bathroom for 90 days and survived.
Yes.
She wrote a book called Left to Tell. I put her on. I've been doing this kind of thing, but I just go where I'm sent, and I just do what I'm told to do. That's why I say what I've really learned at this time in my life, Cindy, is that God really writes all the books and delivers all the speeches, does all the interviews, and builds all the bridges.
But I tell you that there is a responsibility, and I think anyone that's gotten on this path may not begin to realize in the beginning, but in this day and age, with everything that's out there, if you step off the path, people who are brought up to the highest pedal will be brought right down. So you do have a responsibility as being in this category of the top 3, that, even though you're not going to be judged as harshly maybe as the Dalai Lama if you had an affair and got into trouble doing some other stuff or got busted for drunk driving, you do have a responsibility at the level you're at to live, and as I said, you do walk the talk. But
I do, sweetheart. But you know something? I haven't had the DUIs, but I've had the equivalent of the DUIs and the addictions and the sadnesses and the living in the orphanages and the being abandoned and the sicknesses and the diagnosis of leukemia and all of it. And every time, I mean, that if you're going to go real far to one side to be immersed in this spiritual consciousness that seems to be enveloping me in my life, generally those people if you go to the other direction, have a dark side as well that they've had to transcend and overcome. And I am the product of having, and that's what I've just been writing about for the last few months, is this whole idea of seeing more clearly now that all of the things that happened to me in my life, the good things, the wonderful people that have come into my life, and the struggles and the difficulties and the diseases and the addictions and even the not living a healthy lifestyle. That not there was a time when I was drinking every day for years, for decades. And I can understand. It's like I can understand people who are struggling with abuse, with substance abuse, and so on, because I've been down that road in my life and come out of it and realized that I was just disappointing God when I was behaving in those ways. Not God as some external thing outside of me, but the highest place within myself. I was, and so it's like. It's like I'm incapable of being blackmailed because everything in my life is just is an open book. I admit to all of it, and those experiences and wallowing around. I always say that the low points in your life. When I was in high school, I was the high jumper on the track team, and I would get way back, and I would run up to the bar, and in the process of running up to the bar, if you want to elevate yourself over the bar, let's say the bar is set at 6 foot high. If I want to be able to jump over that 6 foot high thing, and not have the bar fall down, then what you have to do is you have to run up to the bar and get down as low as you can. And in the process of getting down low, you generate the energy to propel yourself to a higher place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a metaphor for everything in life, that all spiritual advances that you make in your life generally are preceded by a fall of some kind or another.
Mm-hmm.
When my wife and I separated 12, 13 years ago now, I was in the lowest point in my life. I mean, I was as close to clinically depressed as I've ever been in my life. And yet it was out of that sadness and that pain that I was feeling about our marriage breaking up and so on, which was such a shock to me, that I was able to write The Power of Intention and Inspiration and Excuses Be Gone and the Tao Te Ching book that I wrote, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, and even Wishes for. All of that came out of these low places. Mm-hmm. So Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who was a dear friend of mine who passed away a few years back, she said, if you shield the mountain from the windstorms, you'll never see the beauty of the carvings. And it's like it's the storms of our life that we that really create the carvings that are the beauty of our life. Mm-hmm. So I look back at all of the mistakes and the difficulties and the struggles and the overcoming of this and the mistreatment that I've had directed at me and that I've directed at others without even wanting to, but have. All of that has brought me to a place where I can elevate myself and get over the bar now.
Well, not only have you gotten over the bar, you have, I don't think most people may realize how generous you really are. At the top of the bar and coming back down, you've been spreading it around. I mean, you are one of the most generous people I have ever met in the spiritual field. And you are also not out there. Many people who get to the level you get to pretty much keep themselves away from the general public. You're out there walking along the walkway in front of your place. You had a great story in the book about this woman who you met when you were walking on the walkway, and she was there and recognized you. And her daughter was 20 years old and had paralysis on her.
Yep.
And I was blown away. You actually invited them up into your apartment.
Right.
I know a lot of people in the level you've gotten to, and not many people would invite a group of people they just met into their room. And not only that, you worked on giving her a treatment. You got her to a person to give her therapy the next day.
Cranial sacral therapy. Yes.
I mean, maybe you could share the story. It's a miraculous story.
It was a miraculous story. We were walking along a bit, but Cindy, the interesting thing about this story is that this happens almost every day. It happens at least 5 or 6 times a week.
Really?
That I meet, because people recognize me, and because I do so much television and so on, and generally I talk to them, and and I very, very frequently bring them up. My kids will be up in the apartment and say, here's Dad bringing people in. We'll sit down and do therapy. And this girl, the whole left side of her face was totally paralyzed, and she, was all drooping. And in fact, she even had her eye taped open because it was just drooping shut. And I talked to the mother, and I looked at Nicolette, and I just said, "What's this about? What's going on with your face?" And she started to break down and told me about it, and I brought her up and I was writing Wishes Fulfilled at the time, and I brought her upstairs, and her mother and 2 of their friends, so there were 4 people, and I did a 1-hour session with her and talked to her about what's in Wishes Fulfilled. Was you begin to come from a place where you declare that I am well, I am healed. You don't say, I hope to be healed, I hope that things, that it works out for me in the future, and so on. It's a recognition that you use the words I am, and the words I am are the name of God. That's the name that God said to Moses. Asked God, "What is your name, and who am I? Who am I to free my people?" And God said, it's the only place where the name of God is ever given in any of the spiritual literature. He said, "My name is I am that I am, and that shall be my name for all future generations." So every time you use the word I am, you're really using the name of God. And so you don't want to be saying I am weak, I am sad, I am depressed, I am poor, I am unhappy, because that's blasphemy. You want to be able to say, I am content, I am peaceful, I am healed, I am healthy, even if your eyes and your ears, which are always giving you a lie. Remember what I said earlier about, we're led to believe a lie when we see with, not through the eye. Mm-hmm. And we have a tendency to evaluate our reality on the basis of what our senses tell us. And it has nothing to do with reality because the senses that we have are always changing.
And when a diagnosis comes from a doctor, it is so, and I know you know this, right? It is so powerful what they tell you. It's so easy to really buy into because they show you the proof and they say this is what is wrong with you and you are sick, or in the case of the talk with Anita where you only have a few days to live and something like that. It's a very powerful force you have to overcome.
Well, we did it with Nicolette. Nicolette healed herself of very serious palsy on her face that she was told would be a minimum of 2 years, and it could be there forever. I mean, she might not, recover from it. And we even put the diagnosis of what it was and so on. I included all of that in the book. And today she's out there giving. She changed that experience of coming here. Changed her entire life around, and not only did she go back to school and finish her degree, but now she's out there lecturing about the power of the mind to heal, and she's 21 years old now.
Yeah, so. But now Wayne, you've had a couple of miracles. You're open to a sainthood now. We're going to call you Saint.
I told my wife one time, I told her just recently, in fact, because we're still married, we're just not living together. Mm. And I said, can you imagine, I said, in your wildest dreams, dear, in your wildest dreams, could you ever imagine that you would be married to the third most spiritually influential person alive? And she looked at me and she said, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're not in my wildest dreams.
Well, you are in many people's wildest dreams.
I know. She was just teasing.
And this power that is coming through you is a beautiful thing. And the more you open yourself up and share it as you do, as I believe you do, and I know you do, because you don't have to go out there and do these conferences and these lectures,
I don't.
And you don't have to do the books. You're at the point in your life where you could just say, that's it, but you continue to give. So what is it in you that is feeling that it is necessary to continue to do these amazing conferences and seminars and these books and everything that you do every day?
Well, it keeps you it keeps you sharp. It keeps you focused. I mean, I think your mind, your brain, and your mind are just like your body. I exercise every single day of my life. Mm-hmm. I swim. I do yoga. I walk. I ran for I ran 8 miles a day for almost 30 years without missing one day.
Wow.
Literally without missing a day. 29 years. So we all know that if you want to keep your body in maximum shape, you have to exercise it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not a big insight to anybody. Well, the same thing is true of our mind. If you don't exercise your mind and your brain and make it work, and so I put on 8 months ago. I know that I want to write a book about divine love. I'm not quite sure. There's so much involved in all of that. I have so much to think about in doing it. But I know that by putting that out there and saying, okay, I'm going to do that in January, that I'll take the month of January and just do nothing but just study this and meditate on it and figure, and it'll just make me sharper. And that's why I continue to do that, to stay alert and to stay in shape. And so I work it.
I know in the conference it's going to be coming up January. It's going to be January 26th and 27th, happening at the beautiful Westin Maui Resort. I was reading about what's going to be happening in the course of a day. But you are going to start with a morning meditation. And for me, meditation's been such an important part of my life. I've been meditating every day since I've been 13 years old. And I know you are very wonderful. You meditate as a base and a foundation for everything you do. I was kind of wondering if you could share how the meditation works that you are doing now with Divine Love, if there's a particular way that you could share about that.
There's a new I put it. James Twyman and I got together and we put out this thing. He wrote a book years ago called The Moses Code, and in there he talked about they have gone back and they took the words I am that I am, the name of God, that are actually spoken to Moses 1,300 years before Christ, so 3,300 years ago. And they took the sound engineers are able to go back and look at the letters in the original Hebrew of how that was written out and spoken. I am that I am. and they created the sounds that are associated with those letters. And they created basically the same sound of God speaking to Moses, giving his name, the divine name. So I put out a CD on that called the I Am Wishes Fulfilled Meditation, which has been a part of my PBS special and so on. And it's a sound with a tuning fork on it, and you hear the sound, and there's light musical accompaniment to it. And I just teach people to use the mantra I am, and then put the word that in your imagination on a piece of paper, just at the top of the page. That, THAT. And then when you say I am that, whatever it is that you would like to manifest, attract, the person you would like to be, how your life you'd like it to be, just put that on that sheet of paper under the word that. And then as you meditate, you repeat this mantra, I am that, whatever is on that sheet of paper, and then I am, which is the name of God. So it's like and as you do that, and it's an incredible meditation. It's out there. I'll get one sent to you.
I'd love that. It's so powerful. And again, a new book on the way. You've been doing about one book a year now for what?
For 40 years. I've written 41 books.
Wow.
I'm just finishing my 41st book right now. I can see clearly now.
Ooh,
and this has been one of the most joyous experiences of writing I've ever had, because I'm just letting it come out and beginning to realize the tapestry of my life, all the people, the events, the circumstances, the things.
Healing from your supposed leukemia.
Yeah, that's done. I'm done. I had an experience with John of God. I don't have time now to do that one, but I could tell you that's all in the book.
In the book,
in which is fulfilled, right?
Mm-hmm. And so you continue to bless us with so many wonderful ways. Again, that you express your journey, and it's so inspiring. I know I've been so touched by so many things that you do, and you're really truly a blessing to so many. So Thanksgiving is over, but it's not too late to say, from all the deepest part of my heart, a big mahalo and so much love and light to you for what you're doing. You've helped so many people, not just with your books, but in so many ways people may not know, people that you've met on the way that you've continued to help. And again, to even be able to talk to you, I feel blessed to even have you take the time to share your time. I'm going to let you just do a little brief introduction, because we're going to be talking to Anita next. Do you want to do a little introduction to? I know you did the forward to her book, Dying to Be Me.
Yeah, Anita is one of the people I just love her so deeply and dearly. I mean, the whole story of how I found her and bringing her book to when she wrote her book, and she sent. I finally found her. We had to look her up, and I wrote her and told her that I would really like to publish her book, or have her book published by Hay House, and I would write the foreword to her. It's such a phenomenal story. And she sent me the book, and I sent it back to her. I said, no, this isn't acceptable. I said, you've got to go back and rewrite this book from the place in where you were experiencing what you were experiencing in your near-death experience, because she was being wheeled onto a hospital bed back in 2005, down to 82 pounds or so, and it was at end-stage cancer. She was basically declared dead that night. She was not to live through the night. I mean, she was just barely breathing, and tubes coming out of her and so on, and she'd had lymphoma for 5 years. No one who's ever had that end stage of cancer has ever even survived it, let alone had a complete healing and come back and is out here telling her story. And I needed to have her story told. And so she rewrote the book entirely, rewrote the whole thing from the place where she was face-to-face with God, the highest place within herself. It's an amazing book, one of the most important books. Everybody who knows somebody who is dying or has died or is going through that, so that when you know how when you go to a funeral, nobody ever knows quite what to say.
Yes.
It's sort of you don't have to say anything. Just bring Anita's book, Dying to Be Me, and give it to the people. I gave it to my mom. My mom passed away in July this year, on the 22nd of July, and I gave her the book about a year before that. I gave her the galley, and she read the whole thing, and it's like totally changed her entire outlook on the last year of her life. Was so beautiful. She was making sure all of the women. My mother was almost 97 years old when she passed. All of the women in their 90s who would have breakfast, she made every one of them read it, and it just brought a whole bunch of joy to a lot of people.
It lifts the fear and anything that you might have. And again, you experience this when you're in that divine love, agape experience,
Right.
and people will be able to experience it. That love is always present for everyone. And again, people can go to your website or to Hay House. Your website is WayneDyer.com.
Yep, I guess so. I think it is.
Or hayhouse.com. And they can get tickets to this event coming up January 26th and 27th. Don't delay because people
that's going to sell out.
It is going to sell out for sure. Well, I thank you so much. I just love you, Wayne, and
I love
everything
you
you
too.
do. And God bless you in your journey.
Thank you, sweetheart.
A big
bless you, too.
aloha.